Hybrid cars are supposed to be frugal and economical, and frankly, they're usually pretty boring. Corvettes, on the other hand, are supposed to be low and exciting and fast. And so the idea of a hybrid-powered Corvette, well, it can be a little bit hard to get your head around, but when we're talking about an extra 160 horsepower, oh boy, there we go. That's pretty good. And a 0 to 60 time of just 2.5 seconds, that sounds pretty exciting to me. It's the new Corvette E-Ray, the first hybrid Corvette ever, and we're here to find out if it's any good to drive. It's called the Corvette E-Ray, the latest flavor of the Corvette family, joining the base Stingray and the bonkers track special Z06. Interestingly though, Chevrolet isn't positioning this as an all-out performance car or as an economy car either. The idea is that it's more of a luxury, high-performance grand tourer, coming out of the box with a lot of high-end desirable options like carbon ceramic brakes and adaptive suspension. The starting price? Just a tick under $105,000. The E-Ray's extra power and performance comes courtesy of this little electric motor which sits up front in the nose of the Corvette. It's powered by a small 1.9 kilowatt-hour battery pack that runs along the central transmission tunnel and joins with a 495 horsepower LT2 V8 out back to give a combined 655 horsepower, enough for an astonishing 0 to 60 time of 2.5 seconds. And despite all the extra hybrid circuitry out back and the electric motors up front, this is still a very convenient car to take out for a long weekend getaway. There's still plenty of room in the trunk for a set of golf bags, which is the typical Corvette way of measuring things. And up front, there's a healthy frunk up here, which looks just about big enough for a helmet, which is more my speed. All right, we're in the cockpit of the E-Ray now, and what I want to do is start it off in stealth mode, which is basically how you tell the car that I want to drive away without firing up that V8 in the back. So I've been told to put my foot on the brake, turn the mode knob here, wait for the system to wake up, which takes a moment. Now toggle left over into stealth mode, hit the engine start button, and okay, second time's the charm. Now put it in drive and we pull away in complete silence. Now again, we're just dealing with the 160 horsepower electric motor up front. So I've got a front drive 160 horsepower electric Corvette now up to a speed of about 45 miles an hour. But when I get into the throttle a little bit more, you hear the V8 just kicked on behind me. And now I've got the full combined system power with the 495 out back and 160 horsepower up front. You can do the math. It's plenty of power. Now as I go into the twistier roads ahead, I can toggle through different drive modes again through this mode knob here. We're in tour mode now, which is the most comfortable mode, which we've been in most of the day today. On the highway, it's quite comfortable. The suspension is in its softest setting, and the engine is there. The V8 certainly kicks in when you need it, but most of the time it's kind of just idling along, and it's actually quite quiet on the highway, surprisingly. But I'm going to move on over to sport mode here, which is going to give me a little bit more throttle response. The transmission is going to be a bit more aggressive. And I think we've got a little bit more feedback from the steering as well. So now, because we get into the corners a little bit more, drop a couple gears. And now we're starting to feel more like a traditional Corvette. You can definitely hear that V8 singing. The exhaust is actually quite nice. And while on the highway the V8 is very quiet, out right now it is certainly loud and certainly, again, got that traditional LT sound that you want from your Corvette, your big V8. But again, drop it back down into tour mode. Everything quiets down, the suspension softens up, and you've got a nice car for cruising big miles. This is actually as efficient as a base Corvette, despite having all the extra power, and with the softer suspension that you can get on here as well, and kind of the other creature comforts that Chevrolet has added in. This makes for a nice touring, comfortable car. Until, again, you get to the twisties, toggle right back over to sport mode, and things get to be a lot more fun again. Now, if there are some negative handling impacts from the extra weight of this car, I can't really feel it out here on the road. Again, the majority of that weight is situated right here next to my hip. So it really is centered in the car. There's a little bit more weight on the front axle from the electric motor, but Chevrolet engineers said that they worked really hard to keep the weight down on that thing as much as possible. And again, out here on the road, I'm certainly not feeling any penalty, but I can definitely feel the added throttle response, and having that stealth mode is pretty nice too, even if it only lasts for a couple of miles. Stealth mode is nice, but to really get a good feel for just how effective that new front motor on the E-Ray is, you kinda need a racetrack. And thankfully, we had one of those. So I threw on my helmet, turned on the Corvette's integrated performance data recorder to capture all my telemetry, and then I headed out for a few quick laps. All right, done here on the track, we'll do another launch just because I can. Here we go. All right, we're at Pikes Peak International Raceway, which is just outside of Denver, I think about an hour-ish south, in the shadow of Pikes Peak. This is a little, it's called a roval, basically. It's a oval course with a little bit of a road course kind of cut through the middle. And I'll be honest with you, this is not the fanciest, most modern facility on the planet. But if anything, that just makes it a better testing ground. The grip here is not great, and the asphalt surface is pretty broken up. So if you're looking to test the ability of an all-wheel drive sports car, for example, as we are today, kind of ideal, as a matter of fact. Now, the E-Ray is still a Stingray, which is to say it still has a bit of an understeer tendency as you're coming into the corner. We do have more grip up front than in a base Stingray, which is good, but it definitely has a tendency to wash the nose out a little bit as you're coming into a fast corner. The beautiful thing, though, as you get through the corner, as you get through the apex and you come back on the power again, you can really use that front axle power to pull the car around. And that's an interesting thing. That's very different than a lot of more basic all-wheel drive systems on the road, your Subarus, that sort of thing. It's certainly very different than your average Corvette. This tight corner right here, hard right-hander, start to get a little understeer, just put my foot down a little more, and it pulls the nose right around into a little bit of oversteer, as a matter of fact. So you can really play with the throttle and the steering to give yourself the kind of response that you want out of this car, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. As you can hear, the tires are definitely talking to me at both axles. So as I play with the steering and the throttle and everything else, it just does what I want it to, and that's lovely. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put it in manual mode because although the DCT does a nice job of shifting for me, in some of these longer, steadier state corners, it's kind of dropping down to a gear I don't want. So by putting it manual, you can use these beautiful carbon fiber shift paddles here to get the gear that I want. Got the heads-up display blinking at me when I get to the rev limiter. Bring it down a second for this tight corner, and again, get on the throttle, pull the nose around, and a nice balanced slide coming out of the corner. Really, really nice. Now, I've been running this in basically the highest regen mode. You can basically tell the car by hitting a button on my right knee here to go into an e-recharge mode, basically, where it's sapping extra power and putting that into the battery. And so, hitting this button here, now it's going to stop recharging the battery and only basically give me full power as we're coming through here. Let's see if I can feel the difference. Steady state corner here. Don't really need much power, but then get foot to the floor. And yeah, you can definitely feel the extra power as I go through 110 and up to just short of 120 there. Should really feel it coming out of this corner here. Yeah, definitely. It's much more aggressive coming out of these corners now. Really giving me max power. But Corvette does say, or Chevrolet engineers should say, I should say, have said that even if you do run the battery down quite low, it still maintains kind of a minimum threshold amount so that it'll still give you the ability to kind of pull the nose around mid-corner and give you that all-wheel drive dynamic, even if it doesn't have the necessary charge to give you the full 160 horsepower off that front axle. Whew. So overall, absolutely, this may not be quite the track monster of the Z06, but it's more than capable out here, to say the least. So the end of a great day behind the wheel of the Corvette E-Ray. Is this a boring hybrid, or is this an exciting Corvette? The answer is definitely an exciting Corvette. This thing rules. It is fast, it is exciting, and yes, you can go short distances electrically. That's really not the idea. The idea is to make this a high-performance machine, to add even more performance on top of the traditional Corvette formula. And the Chevy engineers have definitely delivered that in spades. If you're looking for a traditional hybrid, this isn't it. If you're looking for an amazing Corvette, a high-speed machine on the track or on the road, if you got the budget, E-Ray's a good one. Drop us a comment, let us know what you think about the new hybrid Corvette, and if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and check out Engadget for more.